going on? What's going on, family? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Welcome to Lapeef Sundays, man. I decided to put together a show for you guys talking about men's leadership today. Let me go ahead and introduce the panel. You guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
We got Ruth, we got Hank, Biz, Jay had a story to tell. Me, myself, I'm Lapeef. Welcome to Lapeef Sunday. If you guys are catching this on a replay, make sure you hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you're currently on there, make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe as well. How y'all doing? How y'all doing on this Sunday?
Doing good, man.
Doing great.
Enjoying
Any
this
special
break.
plans? You said break? You got a long break?
Yeah, I got a long break. I go back to work Thursday. Not much, just doing some painting. That's about it.
So I know you paint. You might have to put some of your pieces up so we can see it, man. I know you paint.
Oh, no. Like the wall back there, like that. I'm doing
Oh,
that.
okay. Okay, I got you. I thought you was putting together like a Picasso.
Oh, nah.
How are you doing the stencil with that octagon pattern?
Oh, you said how am I doing the stencil? No, well, that's the one I'm doing another wall like that, just with different design. The
All right.
octagon pattern, I just went blank, man. I didn't know what to do with it. I just kind of threw it up and then kind of didn't like it.
Man, well, be quiet.
Saying, did you tape it or you had like a
Adhesive on the back?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, trying to wait on Ruth to get herself together. She was doing like a little strength parenting 101. She had to put the hammer down.
You know it.
What's going on, AP? How you doing, brother? Jam talk, I see.
How you doing, Ruth? Good.
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good.
Ruth the Lee.
I really want to get this show started, man. You can't hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. What's going on, Angela Swift? I see you with the LOL. We're going to talk about following the wrong man's leadership. I got a clip I'm going to play. We're going to dive into it.
A lot of conversations about men's leadership. We have a whole lot of conversations about men's leadership. And hey, bruh, I don't make no excuses. I'll be the first one to say, like, black men especially, we just haven't had a lot of healthy examples. So I get it. But it's not just our side of the transaction that's messed up. Woo! Like, and I'm not saying that to just start shooting at women. I'm saying that to say until we have a holistic conversation about the relationship between leader and follower and the relationship that we've had with leadership, then we don't get anywhere. We don't. We just make it about men again and again and again. And it's like, all right, cool. If we bad leaders, bet, let's roll with that. Let's live inside that narrative. How many bad leaders before you become a terrible decision maker?
Okay.
How many wrong paths do get to take you down before it's you?
Right.
Before you realize that, hey, maybe I should only travel on paved roads.
Come on.
Right? Maybe I should check to see if he got a license before I jump in the car with him.
Right.
Maybe I should see if he got motion in his own life before I start to invest anything. Like, at what point do we talk about that?
Let's go ahead and dive into it, man. I like how you put onus on both sides. I'm going to start with you first, Biz. How do you feel about what he was saying? Let's talk about leadership.
I mean, everything he said was 100. I think often we get caught up in the narrative that we think that everybody, that every man is a leader, just being a buck. You know, all men are leaders, and be it because they had a terrible examples in which I don't think that's a reasonable excuse, because we still have the ability to look at other successful leaders, even if it's outside of our race, outside of our families, YouTube, the internet. We're able to see, we're exposed to so many other leaders that are successful. So I personally don't think that that's a valid excuse. At the same time, I always say it's difficult to lead somebody that don't want to follow you. So just as he stated, it's a joint thing that both people have to be acceptable to, and until that happens, we'll always have that same, finger pointing thing to where it'll really get us nowhere.
All right, Jay, what are your thoughts about it, man?
I think people need to evaluate what stage of their life they're in. Whether you want to be a part of the building process, whether you want somebody to already come figured out. And, a lot of times us men need to be honest about what we want to do in life or where our path is headed. You know what I mean? And there may be some cases where you may just be embarrassed to say, yo, I haven't figured it out yet. Like I'm still feeling stuff out. And then the woman has the opportunity on if she wants to take that voyage with you or if she wants to find something that's a little more defined, you know what I mean? A little more concrete. But, that goes to the stages of your life, the seasons of your life that you're in, because we don't have it all figured out. You know what I mean? Like, when they speak of men maturing, a lot of us, man, we go through our 20s, our 30s, and just be like, yo, what am I here for, dog? Like, this failed, that failed, that failed. You trying stuff is failing, and it don't really click till late. And that's another thing. Some people right out the gate, 21, got it figured out, know what they want to do. Not everybody has that ability. So for a lot of us, you find it out later in life, and it's just being honest about it. The woman has to decide if she wants to deal with that. And if she doesn't need to waste time. You know what I mean?
I had a question for you, Jay. So many men struggle to balance leadership with healthy relationships. How can men be strong leaders in their careers while also leading their families and loved one and respect?
I think that comes with the person that you're choosing to take that path with you. Because if you don't have the right person, they're not going to be understanding there is a means to an end. Like this hard work or, whether you hustling, it's not going to be this way all the time. You know what I mean? So some people have to have the patience to be able to acknowledge that we're gonna make some sacrifices now so that, we can enjoy a lot more freedom later. Everybody, we in a microwave society, as they always say, and people want it now. I want my gratification now. I want my happiness now. I want my beaches now. I want my trips now. I want, you know what I mean? Not really accounting for later because some people, and that goes to the person you picking. Is it a person who feels like live every day like it's your last, or is it a person that plans to be here at 50 or 45 or, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I think that comes to your partnership and them being understanding of that this is not going to be this way forever. There's a plan in place.
I'm gonna go to you, Ruth. What was your thoughts about that mass leadership?
Well, I do. I appreciate the fact that a man can say, we don't have it all figured out. That's something I can respect. I don't think we have it figured out either. So I can trust the leader that said they don't have it figured out, versus you find out the hard way that they're telling you to go some way and really they don't know what they're doing. And people can tell when things are out of order or they don't get it the way they're supposed to. And so the honesty is great. And a lot of times we think leadership is bossing people around, but really it is getting buy-in. It's figuring out where you stand. Like when you walk into a new situation and you figure out, you got to see what's going on first before you start barking at people. You got to see who's really running the show. I just had to experience this. I figured out who's running the show. My approach and versus another woman's approach was totally different. I sat back, I saw who was really doing things. I ran some ideas by them. We worked together and we changed the direction, momentum of the situation. Versus another lady came in, try to act like she run things, and I know you since you was a baby, and now I'm telling you what to do. And she got shut down quickly. So women are in leadership positions. So let's not act like we have no clue or no idea. I brought up a book like, hey, what if we read this book together and on another show, and it was like shut down because everybody knew what to do. It was leadership is not telling you how to be a man. It's like there's principles in the universe, and that's all I was trying to say. That there are principles that people went and researched. Like just like there's wealth principles, you guys believe there's wealth principles, right? So there's things that's going to happen. Like if you give, you shall receive, things like that. That's a part of leadership too. They have leadership principles, and people did the research for it to figure out what really works every single time. So if that's in a book, like we should be able to open it up, study it together, read together, learn. Nobody's beating nobody over the head about it. But it's just like, hey, like even little things I learned from the book that I don't remember everything, but I was just like, well, if I want them to do something, I got to be doing it with them. It's not go do it, let's do it. Things like that. If you learn little things like that, if your woman just happen to have to do that for work, I think that it's okay for her to be like, hey, I learned this. This is what I learned. This is what I bring. I know in every relationship I'm always reading and growing. So I bring it to them, and they see the value in it, and they grow, and I help them when they get their promotions and stuff like that. But if we all sitting there like, you a woman, you don't know nothing about leadership, or you don't know nothing about it. I was watching what show was I watching? Bridgerton. And the men, like back in the days, it's so funny because it sounds like the same thing is going on. Like the women are like, we want our rights to breathe and to decide for ourselves. I'm like, well, that sounds like the Thursday show. Like it sounds like the same. We say the same thing hundreds of years later. But what happened was something was going awry. And the man, the young guy, he thought he could handle it. I'm a man. I'm gonna tell you what to do. Even tell his mom what to do. And then he didn't get good results. So the mom was like, how are we going to handle it? We're just women. She's like, we're going to talk. So they start gossiping and getting things done, and they got it done another way. So women have power just in different ways. How powerful is it when we both come together and use it, our different strengths together?
Facts. That's why I said that, even though there are a lot of men that may not be good leaders at this point, that's something you have to seek. You know what I'm saying? That's a skill that you develop. That's not something that's just initially given to you. You have to go out and seek and develop that. And and once you understand those principles and laws of leadership and power, then that makes everything else so much easier, because now you can go out and experience it. You can test it on in different scenarios and on small scales, on larger scales. But if you just think just because you're a man that people are supposed to follow you, that's not the case at all. But it's just one of those things that you have to develop. A leader knows how to be a great follower at one point. They understand the power and importance of that. So it's a lot more to it, for sure, for men. Um, but it's always going to be some type of pushback on it.
All right. I did have a question for Ruth. Ruth, we see a lot of women prioritizing leadership of a man over their own goals and dreams. What advice do you have for ladies who might be sacrificing their ambitions to support a supposedly visionary partner?
I think it's turns. If you're in a partnership, then you take turns. So if you with somebody that you can trust, you saying if you sacrifice what you want for what he wants, I mean, it would be wise to do that first for him. Then you have the children, and then you go on the back end of the career thing. Once I had, how they say you can't have it all, but I had a lot. By the time I was 21, I had a house, a marriage, children, all of that. And so you can't have it all at the same time. So I couldn't have the career at the time. So now when I look back at it, and I was like trying to, when I got back in the workplace and I was going for my career, I was like, but now I don't have a husband. So it was like, you are not going to have everything perfect at the same time all the time. You got that nice career, but you are not rearing your children. Your children are going to come out like, they're going to come out horrible if you're not there. So I had to make that choice whether I had to, be there. So what I did was I stayed home. I did my college degree at home. I stayed with my children since I was a stay-at-home mom role. I was like, once I, later on, I'll use my degree. I'll do all of that stuff. And then I could, it was his turn to do it. And then it was supposed to flip. It just never flipped. That's all. So then I had to do it on my own. So I would just say, like, figure out what's important. When you are younger, that's when you should be raising your family. If you're going after your career, a lot of women hit the law firm, like they hit partner and they just quit so they can have their family. So if you see a lot of women doing that, that's probably not the best choice to do it in that order. It's like, get your education. Yeah, as long as you get your license, you can always come back to it. But if you start a family, finish your family, get them older, and then when they're like 11, 12 and all that, or whatever age you feel is appropriate, then you can go for your career. But women, we don't hit our, when I looked at the numbers, the men were making the most money at 45, but we were making the most money about 55 because we had to pause for our career. So that's what I would say. Just try to juggle things and prioritize different things at different points of your life so you can have it all, not hit 40 and be like, I have no kids.
I'm going to go to you, Brother Hank. Is following a man's lead a recipe for disaster in today's world? Are women better off taking charge of their own lives and leaving the men to follow their lead?
So the question is, are men today? Could you repeat the question? I must.
Yeah. So is following a man's lead a recipe for disaster in today's world? Are women better off taking charge of their own lives and leaving men to follow their lead?
Well, let me say this. I don't think majority of the men are bad leaders. I don't believe that to be the case. Should women take charge? Look, they've been taking charge, and I don't think they're getting the results that they're looking for. I don't think they're getting the results they're looking for. A lot of women don't really want to go out here and have to work like that. They're not built like that. Not for 20, 30 years and then trying to retire. Most of them don't want to do that. For the most part, they probably wouldn't mind working 10 years. Better come home and better take care of their family and raise their family and do those things. I think majority of women would like to be stay-at-home moms if they got that option. I'm sure of that. Because when them cold days, when they got to get out there and start that car up, head on into that office, it's not fun. It's not fun dealing with the elements. So you might have to, and some women are now they out in the elements. They I've seen some female construction workers, some ladies out there delivering mail and doing other things. Yeah, they not gonna want to do that for 20 to 30 years and try to retire from doing all that. If as a woman, I think they should try to find, and what they've been doing is just trying to find the best option they can. You know what I'm saying? If that means you have to get up on a man's leadership, but you got to realize what that encounters, you do what you got to do. Part of leadership is part of is being accountable. As a leader, you have to account for a lot of things and be able to handle whatever comes with those things, whether it's the goods or the bads. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to always hit the home run. You're going to strike out. So you got to be able to handle that situation when you do strike out and you do come up short, when you do fail the family at times. As men, we're going to fail the family. We're not going to always do things right. We're going to make mistakes as men. As a leader, how do we handle it? That's the biggest thing. You know what I'm saying? Do you have a good woman, a good co-pilot Is she going to be the type of woman that's going to uplift you and encourage you and say, hey, baby, I understand we took a fall right here. We took a hit financially, maybe emotionally, you know what I'm saying, especially mentally. Is she going to be that type of co-pilot that's going to sit there and say, we're going to be all right? Or is she that type of co-pilot that's going to rub your goddamn nose in it? Who's going to make you feel bad about the downfalls of your mistakes, or she's going to remind you of how you failed that time, but she forget about them other 4 times that you were successful and maybe negotiating a deal on closing the house or getting her that new car. You know what I'm saying? She's not going to remember that. She don't think about those times when I was that leader and I went in there and I handled business and I handled the situation when we came to your grandmother passing. Nobody want to figure a way out how we're going to raise this money to bury Granny. But I came in and said, hey, how about we do this and this and this to raise the money to get what we need to do to bury Granny? Oh, she don't remember that. She remember that one time. That one time when I made a bad investment and it's cost us about $4,000 or $5,000. I'll get reminded of that. But I won't remember them other good things that I was doing as a leader. So is she going to be that type of co-pilot? You know what I'm saying? Men and women both have to make sure they invested in the right things. If that means that certain type of leadership that a woman can accept, a woman could deal with, a woman could follow and be a part of, then ladies, go with it. If that's not the type of leadership you can handle, you might want to stand down. Don't invest in that type of leadership if that's not what type of leadership you're willing or you're accustomed to dealing with.
You said something.
Go ahead, Rose.
Yeah, you said something there, and I had this problem with real estate. Like at some point in the transaction, people don't hear from you as much because somebody else is doing the job, but they were like, oh, you need to toot your own horns. So sometimes I gotta say, oh, I was doing such and such for you. That's why you didn't hear from me. So I was wondering, should men not to say like toot their own horn, but just kind of gently remind them, like, oh wow, did you like when I did take care of that grandma thing for you? Like, should you guys say something like that and remind people what you do? Because it seems to be forgotten, or is that just?
I don't think that that's a part of being a leader, though.
Sometimes you gotta remind people.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sometimes you gotta remind people. I would advise against it, but if the situation calls for it, if it's dire straits, you gotta be like, yo, you forgot when your grandma was sitting up in that damn home for 2 months, right? In a lazy boy chair because your family ain't work up the money. You know what I'm saying? Grandma's just laid there in a chair, dog. Ain't no coffin, no nothing, because y'all ain't got the money and I did that. You know what I mean? Sometime if it's a dire situation where somebody's just not understanding or taking you for granted, because ultimately, men, as stoic as we can be, one thing that we can't stand is lack of appreciation. You know what I mean? Like that burns us up, man. You go into a barbershop and ask any man, if we don't feel appreciated, different things come out. You know?
Yeah. Man, but that kind of goes back to manhood and leadership. You know, that's just one of those, in my opinion, that's one of those things that just comes with it.
Necessary evils.
Yeah, you know, it just comes with the territory. Absolutely, we want and desire to be appreciated and shown that, but in many cases, that it just doesn't happen. But that's part of being a man. That's part of being a leader. Sometimes people will they'll be the face of the objective or the mission, but they won't necessarily be the leader. You know, growing up, going to my grandparents' house, we didn't necessarily say Pawpaw's house. We said grandma's house. We're going to grandma's house. You know what I'm saying? Even though Pawpaw paid all the bills, you know what I'm saying? It was his shit. It was in his name, but we was going to grandma's house. You know what I'm saying? If went up to Pawpaw, I want to can I get an ice cream cone? Ask your grandmama. You know what I'm saying? So it's I understand it, and I personally feel the pain. I think every man goes through that at some point, but that it just come with the territory.
That's up to the women to appreciate the man, and I think that women also, they feel it when it comes to parenting. We don't get it we got Mother's Day, I'll give you that, but we do a lot for them and they don't really appreciate it. But I think it's very important that a good woman appreciates her man. If he gives you flowers, if you see him walking through the house, little things like he comes to the door, you excited to hear from him, see him, and that's gonna go a long way.
I did have a question I want to ask the panel. Let's talk about societal pressure. Are women conditioned to follow men? Does this cultural influence make them blind to red flags and so-called leading men?
I
Just
think if the women wants to be so lonely and single than a motherfucker, they'll keep on following societal pressures. They'll keep doing what everybody else is doing, and for that lady who isn't following the masses, she's not a sheep. She's more of a herder, and she leads herself. She'll end up with somebody, righteous, good, and somebody who's going to really bring the best out in her. That's what she will end up with. But they don't. A person gonna do what they want to do. Unfortunately, we have a lot of sheep around here, and not a lot of sheep herders. So,
with that being said, like you have to when you teach your kids not to follow the crowd. Like my brain is just trained not to follow the crowd. Like I do the opposite every time. So what you're saying, when you lead yourself, that's the only way. If you were brought up that way, to not follow the crowd, like to feel a little off if you're doing something that everybody else is doing, that woman is going to be like, you know what? I know they're doing this, but I'm gonna do that. Even just something as simple as wearing a long skirt. I'm like, oh, is that in now? I saw the young girls wearing long skirts. I'm like, I mean, I've been doing that, but now that it's a trend, it's okay. Like little things like that. It's like we follow everything, every hairstyle, everything, like lines in your hair. Like we a little too. The whole culture, we follow each other. We create the language. Is great, but sometimes it's like to be different is abnormal, and that's why the good guys get looked over, because they do have quirks. They are different, but the girls are going for the guys that's following. But when you're a leader of yourself as a woman, you know not to go for the follower type guy. You want to go for that leader.
and just to be clear, JR,
that's
you
only
said
going to work if you're willing to stand down, because that man has to lead. You can't be the leader and he'll be the leader at the same time. That's not going to work. That's not going to work well anyway. I don't think so. Just my opinion. So is that woman going to be willing to stand down if that man's that leadership type person? Because if not, if you're a leadership type woman, you need a follower type man, because that's the only man's willing to follow you.
I think we're going to the extreme, because sometimes when women lead at work, when I come home, I don't want to lead at home. That's not the goal. That we want to shut our brain off. We get excited when we get to shut our brain off when we're with our man. So when they said leave it at the door, that's what we do. Leave it at the door. Okay, what are we doing? How are we doing it? Like we just assume, because I say 51%, 49%. Like I give the man 51% control. I get 49% control. Because, and they was talking about, oh, that's way too much control. I'm like, well, if we're doing everything together and you get the final say, that should be enough. It doesn't mean I'm fighting you. It just means I have an opinion. See what I think. I'm gonna see what you think all the time. And a lot of times when you are like trying to be cooperative, you go with what he says all the time. You just have one little problem here and one little problem there. But if y'all like, I'm the leader, I gotta decide everything. That's the issue. And when you look at the statistics, they said that, I thought it was the man leading would be the happiest couple, but it really was the two of them leading, and that's what made them a happy couple. And I know when y'all hear that, like, no way, two people, they're gonna bump heads. It's not like that. It's just y'all deciding, you have a conversation, and whoever you feel like is more right, or you want to go automatically to man, that's fine. If it's a problem, that's when we're saying, okay, now we just gotta, you know what? since it's a problem, we're not agreeing. I'm just go with what you saying. That's up to the woman. But you can't force a woman to agree with you. You can't. But you could convince. You can't force an employee to agree with you. You got to get buy-in. That's all y'all doing when you listening to your woman. You're getting buy-in. Now she wants to do it. That's still a leadership principle. But if you're like, since I'm a man, that's like you're a leader only entitled. When you there's another book called The 5 Levels of Leadership. He's saying like the first level is you're just a leader entitled, but that's because you're the supervisor. But when people want to follow you, that's a whole nother level. That's level 2. And so it just keeps going up and up and up. And then when you're creating leaders, that's another thing. So that could be the family. You could be creating leaders in your family. But if you learn about all those things and you like, you know what? I do want to hear what my wife have to say. I want her buy-in so she can actually do it when we're implementing. That's all.
I did want to bring this up. Let's talk about emotional intelligence. Is it a weakness for a male leader to show emotion, or is it crucial strength in today's complex world?
I think that it has to be a balance. I think that I think the I think even the word emotional intelligence gets thrown around so much that it's just like it's like no, that doesn't even go with it. I think that it's dangerous. It can be potentially dangerous for a leader to lead with emotions. So there has to be an understanding of knowing when to cut that off and when to not even acknowledge it and recognize what makes the most sense, much rather than how would this make everybody feel, type of deal. Are we here to get the job done, or do I want to make you feel good, to pacify you, as this cut bleeds out? So I think that that's extremely dangerous. I think that that's in my opinion something that really became prominent during the feminist movement, because it was a word that would appease to them. But I think that it's important to have a balance of it, but also understand when not to even consider it.
Mm-hmm. It's very it's a good thing to have emotional intelligence, to like be able to read, like when you have good friends you can read their face. Like I could read my girlfriend's face and know what's going on with her. And men probably have it because they can read our face. They know what's up, they know when we're off. But to be crying in front of your spouse or mate, like please don't do that. Like try not to. Yes, when y'all get really close and every once in a while, but if you're crying all the time, every time you see her, and I don't care if it's a rough patch, like she can't handle all that and she needs you to be strong and stoic. So I mean, to a point, yes, emotional intelligence is important, but nobody needs a man to be a girl. So yeah, just try to keep that balance, and you guys should know the balance, not us. It's not for us to say.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna go to Jay. Same question: is it a weakness for a male leader to show emotion, or is it crucial strength in today's complex?
I mean, emotion is one thing. I mean, the crying, yeah, absolutely not. Emotion, I mean, you can show some emotion. You know what I mean? I think that leads to you want to feel like the leader is human. You know what I mean? You want to feel like there's some type of humanity there, but you don't want it to the point of where integrity or respect is lost, or you're confiding in people. You have to kind of have a balance as far as you want them to see you up more than down. You want them to see you stable more than frantic. So you want to keep that way as much as possible, because if they see you frantic, that's going to get them frantic. If they get frantic, then they're going to question your leadership and be like, okay, well, every time this happens, he start doing it. You know what I mean? You don't want you don't want any of that. So you want to maintain, but you want to, at least show some humanity, but don't go overboard with it. Like Ruth said, there's a balance that we should know as men. which I believe we do.
I'm
There's a
gonna play
time.
another video. Okay. Yeah, I'm putting another video, then I'm asking another follow-up question. Here we go.
If the man is driving into a wall, and your only reason for not saying is because you want to let him be a man, both y'all deserve to hit that wall at full speed. Both of y'all. Talk to him. Because if we're gonna speak traditionally about what your role is in aiding of a king, you're supposed to be watching all parts, right? You supposed to be watching over him, because the queen is actually the most powerful piece on the chessboard. You supposed to be watching over the man. So it should never been no wrong path for him to go down if you got him like you supposed to have him. Now, that's not to blame you for him, you know what I'm saying, being out of alignment like that. It's just to say that when you're in alignment with your partner, what a queen's actual job is to power the operation. Nothing goes without you. Nothing. Like I'm supposed to go to my woman for counsel and everything. Right. If we're going to talk about actual tradition, femininity is wisdom. You feel me? I'm supposed to go to my queen for counsel. I was never supposed to go down this road without your consultation. You feel me? So if we're going to talk about you playing your role, play your role. To everybody else, though, like I was saying. Get him, Trip!
I want to pose this question: collaboration versus command. Collaboration versus command. And the strong male leader still embrace collaboration and shared decision making, or does true leadership require a firm, singular voice?
Nah, it should be collaboration. If you're in a situation where you've delegated who has whatever specialty, you know what I mean? You may be bad in finance. She may be great in it. You may be good in, not maintaining the house, but doing fixing the things that need to be fixed, the yard. You may be great at that. She might happen to be good, went to school for finance. So you have to delegate. Whoever's good at what, we still collaborate. You have your input, but okay, this is what we're doing, then that's how it's gonna go. So I think, if you're in a partnership, if you're in a marriage, collaboration should definitely be, you know, and that's something that I grew up in, where I felt like it was a lack of collaboration. So then when one party is down and out for whatever reason, it could be a health issue, or the other person don't know what's going on. What do I do here? How do I fill out a check? How much is in the account? How much is, it's the traditional layout, but when one person goes down for whatever reason, because you don't know, anything can happen, you want the other person to be able to hold it down while you're incapacitated, so to speak.
Anybody else want to add to that?
I think he was saying a lot on the woman's side. It was just a lot, like, a woman is this, a woman is that, and it's like he's kind of pandering. But it's hard to hear. But I think that even if a man is not, like, because I think that you're a leader, right? But when you meet a new woman, you got to also learn how to lead her. And if she is strong in certain areas, you got to learn how to lead her in other, areas. So you might want to, if somebody is talking to me about what I do every day, it's going to be in 5 minutes before I realize you don't know what you're talking. Maybe one, right? Before I know you don't really know what you're talking. Like, I'm talking to lawyers and they try to tell me about real estate. I knew real quick where I stood with them, and I knew how I was going to maneuver and navigate. They knew their word, I knew mine, but they were mine. So if you come in and act like you know all about what she's expertise about, you're not operating in goodwill with her, because it's like, dang, this is my area and you don't trust me for that. If she's good at decorating and you want to come say these are the things we always have to deal with in relationships sometimes. When you want to be the know-it-all, but you don't really know nothing, that is annoying. That's why women be like, you know what, I can't submit. I don't do this and that. You want to tell me how the stripe's supposed to go on the wall? Like, leave it alone. Let me do something. Let me feel like when you delegate and give that woman something to do, she's not going to want to walk all over you and tell you everything, unless that's her personality, and then you pick the wrong woman. but let her have areas where she can be in charge so that you can feel free to do what you got to do and have the bigger picture. So it's just important that you do work together. I don't think one person should make all the decisions because, like I said, well, on the after show, like a woman can listen to you, follow you, be submissive forever, but guess what? It's a bunch of stay-at-home moms that file for divorce at the end, and that whole power thing that you had going on in the end, when the law gets involved and she's tired of you just telling her and dictating to her everything she should think, see, dress, with all that, when she's done with you, she's gonna take half that money and get her power back. So you gotta always keep that in the back of your mind. You don't have to be afraid of marriage. Just treat somebody right. They always gonna stay, right? If you had a restaurant and you treated them well, they'll come back. But if you are telling them, dictating to them, this is what you're gonna eat, this was on the menu, this was on the rest, like I'm the leader, this is my restaurant. If you don't like it, get out, they're not gonna come back. So you have to like have a balance of like, yeah, I do wanna lead you. And I always say, like, last thing is, don't let me be wrong. Like, if you know I'm wrong, like, you're going to be responsible for this, right? So if I'm wrong, you got to show me I'm wrong, and then I'm gonna blame you. Like, see, you were supposed to keep me out of that, you know. So certain things, I just let him like, I just like, listen, like, I'm really good at X, Y, and Z, but when my emotions get off track, he gets me back on track. And that's what it is. Like, when we're working, we are capable, we're everything. But if our, think about your testosterone, if our emotions are like that, and how y'all have to deal with your testosterone every morning, every day, that's how we deal with our emotion. We feel everything. And so a man is there to help you, guide you. That's like, you know what, a little less emotion. This is what we're going to do when you can't really see clearly. So
I have another question. Is leadership a skill anyone can develop regardless of gender?
yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll say to what Ruth was saying, although that is good leadership, but to have to manage another person to that extent, especially if it's something that happens consistently, that can become extremely exhausting, you know. So I think that is, I understand what you were saying with it, uh, but it's also one of those deals of again, like he said, knowing when to kind of stand down, you know, and allow for him to make that decision before it even gets there.
Can you be specific? Because I gave two different examples.
So, like when you were saying, when you'll say something and you'll end up being wrong, and you'll be like, "Well, why did you let me get there?" type of deal.
No, I just feel like if you disagree, to say something. Like, a lot of men don't say anything, and then just things go wrong. That's when you're supposed to step up and be that voice of reason. So therefore, if I go by whoever's more right, like if I'm more right and you more, you know, sometimes very few
But that's
times we don't know who's right, but we'll figure it out. That's when the woman back down and let the man go ahead and make the decision, but he will have to take responsibility for that decision as well, which is what you guys want. So I'll let you, but then I'll blame you.
So
With love, with love.
that's what I was talking about earlier when I was saying, what type of co-pilot are you going to be? Let me say this: allow the man to make a mistake, whatever mistake it is, as long as it doesn't cost us our freedom or our lives. We'll make it up. We'll be fine. But certain women will not allow that to happen, because that leadership part that you're talking about, that they supposedly gonna rest as soon as they break the seal of the plane of the door. Yeah, that it kicks in, just like that mommy instinct kicks in when you go out and see a child in distress. It's going to kick in because it's in you. It's not just going to just shut off. It doesn't just shut off. It's not a light switch type thing. It's there. It's all about when you're going to display it or not. So you have to allow men to make them type of mistakes and be okay with it, and trust the man that you chose to be with is going to get us back to where we need to be. That's a part of leadership. Look, we think everything the leaders do is going to work out. It's not going to work out. 90% of the time, you may fail. But them 10% of the times, we're going to hit every high we hit. There's going to be a lot of mistakes we're going to make. We're not going to hit every ball. Just like I said in baseball, we're not. We're going to be in the 300s, 400s, maybe. It's going to happen. It's all about how do we respond? How does my co-pilot respond to it? Is she going to be there for me, like you said, to console me, to uplift me, to encourage me, to build me back up when I take that L? Or are you going to just pile on? You know, I took a financial hit in the stock market. Well, it's not going to help me, baby. We really took a hit in the stock market this month. But I'm looking at some other things. I'm looking at some other moves we can make. Yeah, but you said we weren't going to do this. You said this and this. You said this is going to work out. You said it's going to definitely hit. It's a no lose situation. Yeah. We don't need that. We already feeling bad. You can't, ladies, y'all can't make us feel no worse than we already feel. You can't. Right. The person that took that failure, you're not going to, there's nothing you're going to say that's going to make me already feel bad than I already feel. You're not going to help the situation.
Yeah.
You said what, Ruth?
Is she whining, complaining, and shaming you? Yeah, she can make you feel worse. She can make it bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know, Hank. I hear what you're saying, but I think that women, especially if this is your spouse, your wife, if that woman is degrading you or belittling you or whatever in a decision that you made that didn't go right, that's going to absolutely play a toll on any man, especially if that's something that she does consistently, because it's causing more damage.
But Viz, that's going to be temporarily. You'll forever think about what mistakes you made in your life. It'll be 5 years down the road, and you'll think about that time I missed out on that opportunity because I didn't make a certain investment. She'll say that 5 years ago, say, "Oh, you made a mistake." I'll think about it. God damn, I could have been 20,000 ahead right now. Instead, I'm not, because I'm thinking about that mistake I should have did, or the investment I should have made 5 years ago. So you'll never make that person, whoever did that, you'll never make them feel worse than any. I don't care. Ruth could say something to me. Okay, cool. Ruth, you're right. I mean, there's nothing I can do about it. You're right. But guess what? 5 years down the road, I'm not going to think about what Ruth said to me. Ruth called me an idiot for making that investment. I'm not. I'm going to think about, I made this move. Why did I make this decision? I shouldn't have. I could have did something different with the money.
You know what I would tell you? You got one step closer.
One Ruth, I can imagine.
You got one step closer to the solution. That's what I would say. You did look. You think the worst of us. That's not what it is. So yeah.
I did have another question I wanted to ask the panel. What are the biggest challenges men face in honing their leadership skills?
I'm sorry. JR, can I we talking a lot about the men, but the first question we didn't say anything about the women. So I did want to address the women real quick, if you don't mind. As a woman, thank you. We do have to take responsibility for ourselves and how we show up in relationships, how we talk to people, how we communicate. You guys heard me like sit there, be quiet, like loud or whatever. I've been addressed like, you got to talk nicer to the kid, you got to be sweeter and all of that stuff like that, and I did work on it. So we do have to take in suggestions and work on ourselves. And you have to trust a man to lead you, see where it goes. Sometimes we want to tell him what to do instead of, let's see what he does first. And then let's see if he does a good job, make sure you say something. If he's trying, make sure you say something. If things are not going the way you want it to go, just praise him for what he does. Work on like somebody said, oh, Black people can never give a compliment. We'll say, oh, look at your little sneakers, or look at your little things. And I love how she was working on it at work. So I was just like, yeah, I mean, I'm glad she saw that we do that. And so if we're doing it as a culture, we got to learn how to praise each other and say good things about each other versus always even the kids coming up now, they do this thing where they're roasting each other every time they see each other. Like, this is what we've turned into. This is normal. But how can we, if that's our everyday, how are we going to treat our man like, oh, you know, and when we say something nice, it's going to sound like we being like back in the day, we're being Joe or we're being hype or whatever, how we used to talk. Like it doesn't feel normal. It feels, or if I say something nice, a man will say, I'm being fake. What? You know, certain things we just sometimes we so toxic in the way we think and talk that we don't, you expecting something from a person that only toxicity was poured into them, or they don't seek out positive stuff. When we're online, we're looking at negative stuff. So women have to do a better job of like being more positive and being positive with their man. It's nothing wrong with being there for your man. After the show, I was like paying attention. I was like passing him napkins and he needed a fork and all that. I was just subconsciously doing that. I didn't realize I would do that, but it's nothing wrong with that. And then he started helping everybody else out. You cater to each other. And all you do when you know that your man is good, like I chose a good man. When I do good things for him, he's just only going to return the favor. I'm not counting, I'm not waiting, but I just know he's going to do that because that's what's in him. So we got to do a better job as women.
Yeah, I think we, especially with the narratives that are on social media, we forget so often that this is literally a team effort. There's no way that one side can strengthen the other. There's no way that one side can be better than the other. It's a team effort. Both parties have to give the same amount of energy into the investment that they have in order for this to work. Because if one person is giving more and the other person is giving less, then it's the pouring into the different cup effect, where one person is only just pouring into this one cup, and now the other person is feeling depleted. And there's only so long that can sustain. So now you're just setting the relationship up for failure. But I think that social media has so much of a individualism of isolation, to where, you know, we hear the conversations of I don't need a man, or I'm a single married mother or some shit like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is just insane. The conversations that are being had that are taken away from having healthy relationships, much rather than speaking life into it, much rather than pouring into it. And I think that should be the priority of it all.
I think as women, I agree with you. As women, we need to, you could feel like it, but don't have to put it on social media. Like, who didn't feel like a single mother sometimes? If your sole responsibility was to take care of the kids, yeah, you do. But wait till you start paying for them kids. You ain't gonna feel like a single mom no more when you gotta really pay for all the kids and do the man's part and the woman's part. You could feel a certain type of way, but you don't have to make a campaign about it. Like all we do is complain about men. Y'all talk about everything else, and we talk about y'all the whole time. There's no other conversations going on. So it's the complaining part. Is I learned that it was a natural thing that women have to get it out. We're getting out our feelings. But at the same time, it's like we got to learn how to take that energy and turn it into something positive, and it just means that we do really want a man. That I don't need a man thing is a lie for a lot of women. They just saying it because you don't want to be the one girl to talk about, I do need a man. You don't want to sound like that. But deep down in your heart and in the group chat, you want a man. Yeah.
That's what they be saying in the group chats.
I had a birthday dinner, right? And one girl, she was just going in about how this man did this to her and that to her. I'm like, it's my birthday. I don't want to talk about this. Like, can we talk about something else? She went the whole time. Oh yeah, it happened to me. The girl's happily married. She's just playing along. Like, I'm like, oh man, we can't talk about nothing else but men. This is crazy. I like other women can. Positive women can do it. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking about the majority of women. They just, he did this to me and he did that to me, and it's like, come on, man. Like, that's not what this is about. So,
and misery loves company. Yeah. I feel like we got to say that more often, because that's really what a lot of this be. People will be miserable. They'll get online, say some miserable shit, and then now it's a group thing, and it's like you're not even experiencing that for real. And then even to even to going back to the married single parents or whatever, that whole trend, or mom, that whole trend, understanding that if you want a man that's going to pay for everything, that man is going to be at work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's not going to be at home all the time to help with the kids because you're not paying for nothing. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where I think people forget that everything comes at a cost. If you want to live that type of lifestyle, you're going to have to pay the cost of that man not being there all the time. You know what I'm saying? And when he does have time, then y'all make it the best moments that you can. But everything comes at a cost. You if you want a perfect, what a person may deem as a perfect life, that's going to come at a cost. So it's really just people being real with themselves. I think that we really step away from that in this current society of where, of course, we all want to live the fairy tale life, but life is real. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be open and willing to deal with what comes with it, and whatever that cost may be for it, that's a part of it.
So all I heard was men want the fairy tale. That's true.
Shit, I think men do too. I know I do. I've
Yeah,
always strived for it.
it doesn't necessarily look the same as yours. Like our fairy tale is nice house, nice little man cave where I can get away and get my own space. You still here, we're still under the same roof, but I need my space from time to time. Weekends, we have friends over, watch some football, enjoy some beers, stuff, what I mean? That's a fairy tale for us. Now that sounds like just, boys' night out, but a wife on the grill. I mean, well, not a wife on the grill. Wife, making up some hors d'oeuvres. We chilling on a Sunday or on the weekend. Had the people
Yes,
over,
sir.
play some charades, some spades. That's
Yeah.
your fairy tale.
Hell yeah.
Everybody smiling. Look at it.
Y'all fairy tales like, clouds, you fly in on a cloud, and then this guy just comes out the heavens, swoops you off your
That's
feet.
Jesus.
Exactly.
No,
That's what y'all
no,
looking
that's
for.
that's Fabio. That's Fabio. That's who that is.
Fabio.
And I think maturity comes with it. You just have a nice house, reliable transportation, the family's around, everybody's healthy, happy, and you don't need anything. That's really what the fairy tale should be. But we've been sold all this other stuff. So that's why nobody wants to say, oh, I don't want a millionaire. Nobody wants to say that. I don't want a 6-figure guy. It's just like, it's the opposite of groupthink to say, you know what? I just want a normal life. I just want a house in the suburbs. I just want, money in the bank. Like that's too much now, right? Because it seems like we're in America, we should be all rich, but like, there ain't nothing
I
wrong with
mean,
that.
to that, I 100% agree with you. But I think with the fact that we are in America, a capitalistic country, we you do have the ability to be rich. The thing is that everybody just won't achieve it because they're not willing to put in the work for that. You know what I'm saying? They're not willing to make that sacrifice. So I agree. Some people, there's nothing wrong with living a middle class life. You got the family, you got the car, you got the house, in the suburb, whatever. Nothing is wrong with that. But to want more, I think that that's even better because you have the ability to achieve it. Some people are just more high achievers than others, and like you said, some people are okay with living that life. And I don't think there's nothing wrong with neither one of them, but it's understanding which one. It's understanding what you're willing to sacrifice or invest to get that before you even go for it.
It seems
So
like high achievers, they have a high achiever mindset, but they have a low achiever work ethic. That's the problem. Everybody want the money, but don't want to do the work, like you said.
Yeah, ain't no free lunches.
And one of the things you got to be: are you willing to build with a man? Are you just ready to get him at the finish line? I mean, a lot of ladies want that man that's already at the finish line instead of have to build with that man. And it might not be in the suburbs just yet, Root. You might have to live in an area where, you may not feel. I'm not saying where it's not going to be safe. Nobody wants that for sure. But just, it might not be the best of the best. It might, like I said, it might not be in the suburbs. You right there on the middle class high level home. It's right before the suburbs. You know what I'm saying? Are most women willing to do that, or do they feel like they? Oh, no. We got to be saying maybe a year away from being in the suburbs. Okay, well maybe we need to spend a couple years outside the suburbs and not in the suburbs until we can build up to that. You know what I'm saying? Are ladies willing to do that? That's a lot of questions men have to answer and are looking for answers for. Are they willing to build with us?
I know I'm the one that have to give that speech, Hank.
Oh, what?
As a realtor, I got to get that speech.
Yeah, it's definitely work needs to be done on both sides. The best thing we can really do is to educate ourselves and improve constantly. You need to improve on leadership, make sure that you're doing that. And if you're following someone's leadership, making sure that you understand the importance of it and making sure that you develop into being a better follower as well. I just wanted to have this quick show on men's leadership. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Hit the like button, also make sure you subscribe to the channel. I want to thank everybody for their perspective today on the panel for this. And we are out, y'all.